So we'll start with the code which is written to read a specific stock data that is present in one of the file Excel sheet. I think it is a CSV file. All right. Uh, Only one of them we try to read, and we try to pre-process, and we try to plot it. Okay, so this is what we have done so far, right? So the particular CSV file, there are several files in the data set, right? So we can see there are many things which are present over here, and out of which we try to read one of them. Okay, so the data models, right? Okay, and the characteristic of this particular data set is that it actually has almost 20 years of stock data. Okay, but it is arranged in very random fashion. So right, if you open that and see, it's actually arranged in very random fashion. I'll show you that. So first, what we have, let's come to the code part directly. Okay, so these three lines of commands in MATLAB, the clear all clears every variable which have been used in the previous code, if any. Okay, so that's why the close all will close all the unwanted windows in MATLAB. Okay, so maybe some plots or something we already have open, which is because of the previous code, some other code or same version of the code, right? If at all it is executed already, its windows will be open. So I don't want that. That's why I'm using close all. Okay, CLC will close the command window where we see the outputs. So if at all you have previous outputs present, that also gets erased. All right, so that's the usage of CLC. All right, then MATLAB was throwing some errors, warnings, saying that it's not a required format or something. So I just try to turn it off. Okay, that's the warning off command. Then I want to go inside this archive. That's this one. I want to go inside, and then I want to read. Okay, so make the current directory as archive, then read the stock data. So I have to read a table. So the table name is it's in the tatamotors.csv, and all the variable names, it's like every column will have some headings, right? So I want to open and I want to read even those when the data is loaded into the MATLAB workspace. So that's why this is the case. And then I want to come back because all my codes are written outside the archive. So I just do the cd dot dot to come out. Okay, the same command which we use in almost every programming language, right? So we have one facility available in MATLAB, that is to write the codes in separate parts, right? You can see that the highlighted yellow colored region is one part of the code. We can divide that by drawing the lines. So actually it's called as a sectioning of the code, and you can insert sections if you want, like by using this location in the editor. You can see insert. So I used insert to make the sections in my code so that I can run and show part by part. So anyway, so this part as of now we cannot see anything because there is nothing that is running already that has run in the form of a code. So I can simply run and advance. So run and advance is an option that it will run a particular section and it will go to the next section. Right. So now I actually ran that section, nothing to see, nothing to visualize, because workspace or command window, everything is closed and everything is empty. All right, now I see when I run this part of the code, a stock data variable will be created, and that particular variable comes into this location, right? The workspace. So we can see that now. I'll just run and advance. So you can see the stock data is created. This is actually the read data from a particular CSV file that is present inside our data set, and this is corresponding to the data models. And actually we can open and see what is inside. So another variable window will open up. So you can see that on the top we have variable names. So in my command I mentioned that I want to read the variable names as well. So not just reading the values from the table, read the variable names as well. So it actually has done that. You can see date, symbol, series, right? Everything, right? Everything is present. Right? So we can see that the required data set for processing a stock value is completely represented in the form of a table here. So we can see different symbols, what series it is, previous close values, open value, high, low, right? Last of a particular day, corresponding to each of the day it is present, and you can see the volume, turnover, etc. Right? Many thing is given. It's like actually a 15 column, and each row corresponds to a day. We can see that it is third, right? 3/1/2000, 4/1/2000, and so on. Like that, you have the data. And the most recent value what we have is 34/2021. So almost 21 years of data complete, right? You have for a particular stock. So this is the data reading technique. We use a straightforward command called read table. It will read the particular table and represents it in the form of a table. Right. So then I just want to, in the next section, I want to check whether the entered or the read data is in the required format or not, because CSV files can even include the text, right, and many other formats. But as of now, I am expecting the data, numerical data, right? So irrespective of whatever may be the content, I'm just making sure that it's present. So you can see I check that, right? I check it with a condition. The particular one particular column, that open data, I'll check. One of the column, if you check, it's sufficient, right? This is what I thought, and it's working. So what I did, I check whether a particular column in the data set is numerical or not. So I check is numeric. It's a function to check a value is numerical or not. All right. So if it is numeric, answer is true, otherwise false. So you see, if this data is not numeric, in the sense if it is false, I just have to I have to convert every value that is present in the every columns into numeric. So how to do that? It's actually I'm converting string to double that particular data, the open data, and I'll put it into a command called into a variable called open. So the open value will be converted into open, but it is in the double form, a numerical form, right? I like that. I do for whatever columns I thought they are necessary for me. There are 15 columns, but as of now, I might not require all of them, because date is irrelevant as of now. Correct? I don't want data. I don't want many of the columns. I just thought, okay, let's see which are the columns important for us, and I thought that okay, these may be important for us. So opening value, what is a high value, lowest value of a day, closing value. The last value is actually an approximation. If the closing value is 270, let's assume, the last value is very close to that. Whatever was the closest value, you approximate it to the next number, closest number. So that's what is the difference I saw in the stock data that is present. Then the volume is also important. This is what I thought. So if at all it is not numeric, I convert into numeric here. And else means it is already numeric, means nothing to do, simply assign. Okay, so this is the first part. I'm just verifying the format, and I read the data as well, because I understood that maybe right, I might require date for further processing when I want to generate a test data, and when I want to generate the training data set for our future enhancement, this thing. Obviously, it's required. We need the date, right? We want to separate I think the whole data set depending upon what date it is, right? So I actually read the data as well at the later stage. So now I just run this part and advance, so that you can see these variables coming up in the right hand side. Okay, let's run this. So on the right hand side, you can see all the values have been read. So the close value of that particular data set has been presented in the form of a vector, no? So it has the same number of rows as the original data, but only one column. Okay, so like that we have all other data present. And even the dates have been read in the date format itself, right? So same number of rows, and we can see the similar number of single column, right? Single column, so many number of rows. It's true for every data. Okay, all right. Then I try to do a little bit of a pre-processing, though we can do a lot. When I saw the specifications of this data set, maybe I want to convert this in an ascending order, and I want to make it as a timetable rather than simple table. So first you convert this, use this data, date, open in this same format, convert this into a timetable first. Okay, if you do this, time will be in the required ascending order format. Then I check if there are some locations where you have missing data, in the sense something is blank, right? That particular value is not filled, right, in the table. It's in the original data set, we can see that. So if at all I see that if there is a missing data, right, I don't want to lose my data because only one particular cell is missing, others are filled. Like maybe the lowest value of the day is not filled, but you can see that high, open, and other values of that data is there, right? In that case, MATLAB supports to fill that empty column by looking at the previous and the next values of that particular column, right? So it fills that linearly, in the sense something like a midpoint, right? It checks the previous value, checks the next value, and it fills up with the midpoint or the median value, or if you can use many options we have, right? You can fill it with average. So there is one function called the linear. It draws a line between the previous and the next values and centers out a point on that straight line, and it's going to fill that. Okay, so it's a linear, right? So fill missing with the linear. This is the option I use, and anyway we have multiple options, right? Later on we can modify. So this is the first step in our pre-processing. And again, so if at all there are some columns with the not a number values as well, but as of now those columns I'm not using, so I never touched them, right? What to do with the not a number column we can see later, right? You can either delete them, you can have the option to delete the entire row, or fill with some approximate values by using some equations. Anything we can do, but as of now we are not using those columns, so I just eliminated. I didn't consider the not a numbers at all, because out of these columns, 6 columns we consider, there is no entry with the NAM present. So then if you see the one of the important aspects of this stock data is what volume it is, right? So volume, if at all you have some zero, I found some zeros over there, it means that data is not useful for me, right? I cannot fill a random number to the volume. It has to be a specific value looking at the market's condition and the buyers, sellers of that particular stock of a day, etc., right? So because of that, volume cannot be zero. If at all there is a zero, I am just erasing that. Okay, so you see I'm checking start data in the timetable. If the volume is equal to 0, right, make it null, in the sense make that row as null, in the sense it deletes that row. So these are the two things which I have done in the pre-processing. As of for the 6 columns which we considered, this is sufficient. You get a complete proper table at the end. All right, so I just run this part. Now you can see at the end I have to get one variable by this name. All right, okay, so let me run this part of the code and proceed further. So we can see a timetable that has been created here. So it contains the 6 columns of our specifications. Date is used as the one variable for our for the creation of the timetable. Okay, and same thing, you have all the 6 numbers, all the 6 columns, and 5306 days of data. Okay, so ultimately we have these values. Okay, and moving ahead, the last part was to visualize this final data set what we have, right? So the stock price we are trying to plot. Again, we are trying to plot the close value, the date of a particular year versus the closing value of that particular stock is what we are trying to plot here. Okay, and when we run, so you can see that there is a stock. This has been created, and just a second, let me try to enlarge that. Okay, so you can see that it actually begins, initial 0 is for the vertical axis, not for the horizontal axis. So horizontal axis begins from 2000. So 2000, 2005, 10, 15, 2020. So till there we have these values represented in the form of in the graph. Okay, so we can actually click on the graph to get a specific date and value of the stock over here. So this is another feature which we have. Okay, so whichever part of the graph we want to process, we can actually look at the range and the date, right? See, y-axis tells the price, x-axis tells us the date on which that particular data has been measured, right? So using this particular concept, now we can uh, read a table, modify the table, perform a pre-processing of the table, and also visualize the contents of the table.